Usually I don't like doing paper crafts because I think they take a long time and they take patience, and patience is just not my spiritual gift. However, we're gonna try it out today. So we're gonna make a really pretty layered rose Mother's Day card with our Cricut. So whether you're a newbie to card crafting, paper crafting with your Cricut, or a seasoned pro, you're gonna love this one. It's beginner friendly, but also looks like it's not beginner friendly. So should be tons of fun. Let's get into it. Okay, let me start by telling you what colors you're going to need in cardstock, because there are 6 of them. So you're gonna need a light pink color, a dark pink, a medium pink, a green of some kind, white, and cream. And I'm actually using this like pale blue as my cream color because I don't have any cream. So if you have cream or like a very light tan, that might work better, but I'm just gonna use this really light blue as my neutral. Another thing that you're gonna need is a scoring wheel. So if you have the scoring wheel for the Cricut Maker, you're good to go. I have the scoring stylus for the Explore Air 2, but it still works and it'll work just as good. So if you just have the scoring stylus, you're still good to go. You can stick that down in your Cricut Maker. If you have the scoring wheel, even better, you're even more prepared for this craft. Other than that, you just need a regular or light grip cutting mat, your regular blade, some sort of glue adhesive for your paper, and I think that's it. Let's get into it. Okay, so we're gonna be making this lovely layers rose card. So I'm just gonna click on it. Here's everything you're gonna need. We already went through that. You've already got your cardstock. They recommend a light grip machine mat. In my experience, the regular typically works just fine for cardstock. And we've already inserted our scoring stylus, but you can insert the scoring wheel if you have that. This also includes an envelope that they put lace and a bow embellishment on. I'm not doing that part. I'm just doing the card today, so you don't have to worry about that bit. So we're gonna go ahead and click make it. I'm gonna be cutting mine on the mat on a 12 by 12. Okay, and we are ready to go. So we don't have to mirror anything because we're just doing cardstock. Okay, looks like white is up first. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop off of here because that's really all we have to do in Cricut Design Space other than click continue, and it's gonna have us select cardstock. So let's go ahead and go through that process actually. We're gonna click continue. Okay, so now we're just gonna choose what we're using, and we are using medium cardstock today. We're gonna do default pressure, and we're gonna say to remember material settings, because we're gonna be using cardstock this whole project. It looks like all we need is our scoring wheel and clamp B. So I'm gonna go ahead and swap those out, and then I'm gonna be ready to hit go. So if you're using the scoring wheel, this would be the point where you take your blade out of clamp A and put your scoring wheel in. But we're actually going to use the scoring stylus, which can only go in clamp A because that's the clamp for pens. So I'm going to go ahead and click edit tools here. And I'm going to say that I'm using the scoring stylus instead of the scoring wheel. And it's going to let me know that that's going to go in clamp A, which is where we already put it. And our fine point blade is in clamp B, which is where it already is housed. So it's just a little reminder that if you're doing the scoring wheel, you're going to swap those out and you're not going to have anything in clamp A right now. But other than that, we are ready to go. So just a reminder, you might have noticed that I flipped over my mat. That's just to keep my cardstock from bending as I'm peeling away my design. Because if you pull the cardstock up from the mat, sometimes you get a little bit of a bend and a crease that it's hard to reverse. So anytime I'm taking cardstock off my mat, I flip my mat over and I peel the mat away from the design. And now we're just gonna repeat this process for every layer of cardstock. I'm gonna peel the excess away first. I don't wanna bend this square. So I'm gonna flip over and I'm gonna peel my mat away from my cardstock. Our next layer is this green layer, and then we're gonna load it in and repeat the process. One little piece needs to be popped out. Okay, so it's kind of hard to tell the layers apart at this point because all we have left is our pinks. Your dark pink layer is first. So go ahead and grab that darkest color pink, load it up. I had a little mishap here, so I'm gonna show you how I fix that. I'm gonna peel away my excess, and I'm actually just gonna grab my scissors here. And since this one is just a straight line, I'm just gonna follow the line and finish out that cut because it got bent over in my Cricut. Gonna very gently follow that line. There we go. All fixed. Next is light pink. And we actually need 2 layers of this light pink, but I'm hoping we can fit them both on this one sheet of cardstock. So we're gonna find out. Looks like we have a tiny little tear right here. It shouldn't be a problem once we glue it all down, but if it ends up being a problem, we'll just recut it. This is my scrap from last time. I'm gonna try my darndest to be able to use it. So we'll see if it's the right width and length. I'm just gonna check on Cricut Design Space really quick and we'll see if it works. Looks like we need it to be about 6 in width and 5 in height. So I'm gonna see if this is going to be big enough. And it is just barely. So we're gonna use our scrap and load it into the Cricut. All right, this one should be pretty easy. And we're gonna go ahead and load up our second to last one, which is our medium pink, or in my case, this very bright neon pink. Okay, so this second to last layer is actually your envelope layer. So if you're not making the envelope, which I am not, you can skip it. You can actually skip this layer entirely and go ahead and move on to your very last layer, which is the last piece of our card and is also in hot pink. We are on the very last layer. Okay, so now it's time to line up all of our layers and glue them together. Remember that this is gonna be your top layer, this white, and the dark pink here is gonna be your bottom layer. All these other ones go in between and they line up in the order of light pink, medium pink, green, and then your neutral color. So let's get into gluing them together and we'll talk about how to make sure we orient these correctly so we don't mess it up. We're gonna start by gluing this dark green layer onto our neutral layer. And we're just gonna put a little line of glue around this outer rim here. And the key to making sure we're lining it up correctly is gonna be making sure that the inside of our flower is perfectly see-through. And that will make a lot more sense here in just a second. So once you've got it all lined up, you're gonna put them on top of each other so that you can see right through this center part. As long as you can see through the center completely and there's nothing overlapping here, you've got it lined up correctly. I've got just like a little wet paper towel here too, because I'm using that tiny glue stick and sometimes it gets off the edges and I wanna make sure we don't have any stray glue. And then we're gonna move on to our next layer, which is this hot pink. And it's gonna be the same thing when we layer it. We just wanna make sure, we're gonna go around the rim, and then we wanna make sure that this part perfectly matches up so you can see right through it. And as long as we're doing that, we should be good to go. You can also just turn it around with you like I'm doing. You're ready to flip and press. Once again, we're just lining it up with that center section so that we can see straight through the middle of our flower. That's how we know we're doing it right. Pressing it down gently. And now we're ready for our top layer of pink here. This one is a little bit different. We're gonna put it around the rim again, but the way this actually lines up is so that this little hook looks like this. Then when we lay it on top, we can still see through to our leaves. So make sure you're oriented just like this. Flip it over and go ahead and do that glue just the same as we've been doing it. And now we are ready to put it on the back of our little card here. So now we're ready to put this whole thing on the backing. So I'm just gonna flip it over. I'm gonna put bigger swaths of glue here and just filling in all empty space here with glue. And then we're ready to flip and press on, lining up our edges nice and clean, and then just gently pressing it down, nice and neat. And now we have the back of our card done. So now we're ready to put the top of our card on. So we can put it on just like this, and then we can fold at the very end. So I'm actually going to flip this, and I'm gonna get the rim all the way around, and then I'm gonna kind of get this intersection over here. So first the rim, gotta work kind of quickly here so your glue doesn't dry. And then we're ready to flip it and line it up. Once you got it aligned, you can just gently press down, just like we have been this whole time, working your way around the edges, making sure everything gets adhered really nicely, and then spending a little extra time on this side, making sure it gets aligned. You can even use your squeegee here to really flatten it out, just making sure we adhere this last layer really nicely. Now I'm gonna let this dry completely, and then I'll just have to fold it and we will be totally done.